are listening to the Good Girl Podcast. I am Cameo King, your host. The Good Girl Podcast is a podcast that is redefining the good, and we do that through uncomfortable truths. I call those uncomfortable truths confessions. So every week we have someone on with a confession. The goal is to free you. The goal is to liberate you. The goal is to really give you, expose you, show you the freedom that you didn't know you needed. I believe we are called to many things in life, our purpose. And our purpose requires that freedom, the freedom to be ourselves, the freedom to be human. And so much of this society, so much of how we exist, so much of what we've taught, these rules and these guidelines do not allow that. And so you will be living beneath your privilege if you don't access this freedom. I believe that you, especially as believers, right? It's just an interesting dynamic there. You will live below your privilege. I don't think you will get the fullness out of life if you don't access this freedom. So through other folks' confessions, through stories, through this transparency, through this honesty, I think that you will know, I know because I've experienced it, I know that you will come to understand what this freedom looks like, what it feels like, what it smells like, all these things. So be along for the ride. It's nothing better to be free. So this week, y'all, I'm gonna share some things with y'all that's on I'll call it my freedom journey. And it's specific about what I'm learning about growth in this season. And I try to be extremely intentional with my words. And I don't know if we really pay attention to the words that people use and how they use them when they're speaking. And then on the flip side, I don't know if people are as intentional, some folks, when they speak and they use certain words. And so I say what I'm learning about growth in this season. So what I've learned about growth in another season could be totally different, right? What I'm learning in a year from now about growth could be the opposite, but this is for this season about me. So this isn't like a hard and fast rule. This is just what I'm experiencing right now. And I wanted to share that with you. Before I get into that, I have great people around me. And more recently than not, thanks to Fly Carla, that's over at Fly Carla. She is a stylist. She's a personality, a TV personality. She has her own blog, and she decided to get myself and Rika, the single girls life coach, together in a group so we could do a clubhouse. We're all Bison from Howard, and it has turned into so much more. And so I wanted to share a piece of our conversation. And it really drove home the point that you are the sum of the people you are connected to, the people you talk to, hang out with, text on the regular. And if your circle doesn't challenge you or call you higher in some capacity, then I challenge you to pray about who is in your orbit. And I say this because I definitely see the benefit of being connected with these two women, because they do just that. They challenge me. They give me different perspectives. And let's be clear, when I say this doesn't mean the people in your circle you have to agree with all the time, right? It doesn't mean that everything is peaches and rainbows, right? It's not peaches and rainbows. It's rainbows and unicorns. That's what I say. Rainbows and unicorns. But the point is that they can call you higher in some capacity, right? And these are the people you talk to on the regular. So also what this doesn't mean is that if these people aren't pouring into you emotionally, financially, or supporting your dreams, goals, and visions in some way, or in the way you see fit, that's the key word, in the way you see fit, that they are wrong, or that you need to lead, or that you need to leave them and cut them off. I'm not saying that. And I think that is a misleading perspective, because one, life isn't all about receiving. Sometimes your role in relationships and in circles, it changes, and sometimes it is to give. And I believe a great relationship is one where giving is reciprocated. And then two, sometimes y'all, when something is reciprocated, it's not in the way that we want, but it's in the way that we need. And so I'm sharing this to encourage y'all to pay attention to your circles. I think, and pay attention to your relationships and what that give and take is. I like the parent-child relationship, right? I think that's one of the best examples when I think about different dynamics of a give and take relationship, especially when parents say things like, I'm giving my all. Well, no, let me say this. Parents don't say that, but there definitely is, especially in the beginning of the child's life, all the pouring out to the child, right? Parents give their heart, their soul, their body, their time, everything that they know on how to love their child. And most kids will never understand the sacrifice or the love a parent has for them until it's their turn. But that doesn't mean the parent-child relationship wasn't it wasn't reciprocal, right? Or I'll say intentionally reciprocal, because I know some of y'all parents like, what? My child don't give back. My child don't respect me, or my child don't understand. Like, I'm not I'm not discounting that. But some parents learn so much about themselves when they see their child, right? When that mini version of you is staring right back at you, right? Some parents learn a new level of love, a deeper level of patience. They learn about their communication styles. They learn about their weaknesses through their child, through their deep love for their child. Some are given this desire to work and to push through. All gifts from this relationship. Some even humbly learn a new perspective about life. So I say this to say, learn from your relationships, right? Because even when I say, if your circle doesn't call you higher, it's not always a direct call to come higher. Sometimes that call is you simply have to be the bigger person, or sometimes you have to humble yourself. Or maybe the relationship, now laugh at this, maybe the relationship is giving you the opportunity to learn how to shut your mouth even when you really want to say something, right? Because you are learning something, right? You are definitely learning something. And so I just want to encourage you all, essentially, don't be the smartest person in your group. Because when you are, you're not open to learning about yourself. You aren't open to humbling yourself and allowing someone else in these relationships to give into you in unique ways. So that was just a little tidbit, right, that I wanted to share before we got into today's topic. So what I want to talk about, or this week's topic, so what I want to talk about is 3 things that I'm learning about growth, about true growth during this season. And the emphasis is on true, truly, whatever word you want to use. And so a lot of how we measure growth and success, I believe, can be fickle or shallow. Our measurement tool, it's not an across-the-board accurate tool for growth, but I don't want to dismiss some of the barometers we use to measure said growth. For example, making more money, getting a new position, or taking on more responsibility, or your business growing. I believe most people would say this is an indicator of growth, and I would actually agree. Another example is being in a healthy relationship with friends, family, coworkers, or romantic partner. I would say is another indication of growth. And because we value these things, we listen to the experts who have succeeded in this area, right? Who've made, millions of dollars, or who have transformed their business or retooled their business, or those who have navigated the treacherous terrain of the rough patch in their marriage, right? We learn from these folks because we acknowledge their growth. But what I realize is in those spaces, while we believe we can quantify and actually calculate their growth, it's not as accurate. And the reason I'm not totally sold on that is because I know for a fact that true growth happens prior to the goal. You become that person that's needed to manifest that goal prior to manifesting the results of that goal, or being that person. Am I making sense? It sounds like some big mumbo jumbo, but let me see if I can drive it home. So, meaning I just don't wake up and become, the Misty Copelands, Kobe Bryants, or Viola Davises of the world. Misty has been practicing for God knows how long. Kobe was stayed shooting in the gym. Viola Davis has been in the game since before I was born. But we see these greats existing in their field, but they already had to have the mindset, the work ethic, to go after, to become this thing. I want to talk about that area of growth, right? I kind of set the stage about growth in that way, because I'm not talking about necessarily specifics like that, but I'm talking about the person, right, that it takes to manifest your things, the person you already are before that thing you desire manifests. Am I making sense? If I was in the church, or if I was preaching, or if I was teaching, I'm like, do y'all feel me? What questions y'all got? I just want to make sure that you guys got that. So here are the 3 concepts that I'm learning about growth. Number 1, faith, right? Faith, that's huge when it comes to growth. We tend to uphold our faith to move us forward. Faith is oftentimes used and touted as a vehicle to launch us into our destiny. It is the tangibility of our hope, the things we cannot see. This approach I get, and I have understood, and I even have abided by. But, there's always a but, y'all, but what I think I failed to connect is that faith required more than just belief, but it required work. Now, let's be clear. Like, I understood this. For example, if I want to strengthen my muscles, I can't just have faith that my muscles are going to be strengthened, right? I have to actually work. I got to do some push-ups. I got to pull out some weights. I have to put work in that. But I think when it comes to our larger, lofty goals, we dismiss or we forget about that work ethic, because there seems to be a gap in me getting from A to Z. How do I get there? I'll just have faith. It'll just come together. Versus the research, the work, the time you put in, the grind is necessary. And that work that's required is an actionable real step. It is an investment or a seed into my belief, and then God would respond. Essentially, I can believe with all my heart, y'all, because I think that's what we do. We just get really excited. You can believe with all your heart and with all your faith, but if there is no work behind it, it falls flat. It is dead, right? And so through this kind of growth process, I've come to understand that there are different levels of faith. Now, this is Cameo's version, right? This is what I've learned, and I'm just sharing what I'm learned, right? If you like, no, Cameo, that ain't right. I don't know if I feel that, right? I'm always open to hearing, for the most part, different perspectives. But this is how I've seen it play out. I've come to understand these different levels of faith, or what I considered levels of faith. I think there is one, a childlike faith, similar to operating out of complete ignorance, knowledge, or fear. So you have no knowledge of the quote unquote dangers that are ahead, or the things that could happen. You have no knowledge of fear, like no fear of failure. Like you're completely ignorant to the process, but you're just excited and you're just moving off of faith. I also think that there is an emotional faith, a faith where all of our emotions move us forward. Oftentimes it happens after an inspirational message, a transformational story, or a moving sermon. This faith tends to make actionable steps out of emotion, but unfortunately they dissipate after a few weeks and never come to fruition. And then, there's the steady faith, the faith that moves us bit by bit with some small, sometimes large, actionable steps, a faith that is consistent with the hills and the valleys. Now, I think all these 3 types of faiths are necessary. I'm not saying one is better than the other. I think each comes with its different set of requirements, and they move us and help us navigate through life differently. They are necessary for different parts of our journey. And honestly, I think it's probably all of these 3 areas of faith that make up the entirety of what we know faith is, right? But I think what I've learned, matter of fact, I know what I've learned about growth is that the steady faith, or growing into that steady faith, is really when things begin to shift. That when I've made tangible steps that I can't take back, y'all, right? Or I'll say this, that are difficult to take back, that align with my faith, different things happen, right? It's a different conversation with God when you buy a ticket to travel to your dream destination than when you imagine it on your vision board. That's a different conversation. It's a different approach. when you are sitting down with a lender for your dream home or taking a class about home ownership and saving an extra $250, $500 a month than it is just looking at homes. And so when we think about growth and faith, it is so important to put these small, actionable steps in place, like actionable steps that you're really moving, that are consistent, and also being mindful that a lot of times that emotional faith, it's not steady. It's not going to keep us. I watched a sermon, and this was years ago, y'all. So this is something like that. Like, I'm coming into the steady faith. I've been working through the steady faith for a while, probably for a couple of years. But prior to that, I was watching some sermon, and the woman that was preaching, she was talking about she doesn't trust herself when she gets really excited off of a message, and she goes home and she tries to make all these changes because she understands that, not that it's not real, but that it is her working off of her emotions. And once those emotions are gone, so will the steps be. And so I think emotional faith does move us from place to place, but it's not the thing that's going to keep us, right? So when we talk about growth, small actionable steps that move us forward. Number 2, it's not just about what you do, but it's also about what you don't do. What I decided not to do has also shifted me into a different space of growth. So what do I mean by this? I think many of us, including myself, have been learning about ourselves. We have become, especially amid this pandemic, we've had a lot of time to self-care and all this stuff. So we've become more self-aware of our triggers, our underdeveloped strengths, our actual strengths, and the things, the people that stimulate our growth, inspire us, etc. We are learning who we are and what makes us grow. We even have indicators of these things, right? We have proof or historical markers that show Cameo, that you thrive in creative spaces or you are at your best when you feel safe. But y'all, this is what I'm learning. But what I'm learning is that awareness or belief about ourselves and who we are or what we need can limit us. Meaning, while I may typically, historically, factually need these set of circumstances to perform well, the truth is God is stretching me out of that belief, right? Because if I believe God is God, omniscient, all-knowing, all powerful, that God is the creator, why would I limit the God of the universe to move through me, to grow me through a specific set of circumstances? Because to me, what that is saying is that I can only function with X, Y, and Z. That says bondage. That says limitations. Versus God, this is where I am, and this is what I have. Show me how to move through this. Move through me, right? I know some of y'all may not be necessarily Kanye fans, but it's one song on, don't hate me, it's one song on the album that I listen to consistently, and he just says we have everything we need. And I believe that and it just stuck with me because I was in a somewhat of a I had my back against the wall. I didn't have a lot of resources during that time, and I had to consistently tell myself that I have everything I need to get me to the next step, right? I may not have the tools to build that proverbial staircase, but I definitely have the tools to build that next step, or at least to lift my leg to stand on that next step, right? And I think when we say things and we believe that I need this environment, I need this person, I need this money, I need this resource, I need these things to operate, we are limiting ourselves, we are limiting God. We're saying, God, I can't move in this space, right? God, you can't move through me without these things. And that is a whole lot. I say this to say the things that we are choosing not to do for whatever reason, right? For whatever level of self-awareness we have, I think we really have to ask ourselves, why do we have that belief? And is that belief based on an experience or based on who God is? And before I move on to number 3, the final one, I want to be clear. And I don't want to discount our very real experiences, whether it's a trauma or, like I said, your track record. Like, very clear historical markers like, y'all, this has been my history. I can't do X without Y. I just want us to understand that God is bigger than those things. God is bigger than your need or my need for Y to get to X, right? So when we're in these positions, what I am admonishing myself and sharing with y'all is to give the Spirit of God space in these areas where we believe and where history has shown us that we can only do it a certain way. Because honestly, and I'm about to go into number 3, because honestly, I think that's where God shows up. That is the awesomeness of God. When God literally comes through and demolishes our preconceived notions, things that were set historically for years, and said, I can move through you, and I can do what I want to do or what I called you to do in this earth, regardless of all of that. So I'm encouraging us to give the Spirit of God space. Number 3, y'all, number 3 is a big one for me. It's a big one for me. And I say this because in this actual moment, I am just trying to get this in my soul, in my spirit, in this actual, like now, today, this weekend, I am pushing back on a thought process, right? This is a big one for me. And so what I'm talking about is simply my thinking. And it's really not that simple, but it's thinking. Everything starts with our thinking. As a man thinketh, so is he. And I get it now. I didn't get it before. That my thinking, my mentality, my spiritual self has to be there before I actually get there, right? So that this is less about the manifestation of a thing, but more about the person who has to manifest something. An example, I understand that there is a specific quantifiable value placed on a millionaire, right? A millionaire is a person that makes at least $1 million. But I also believe that there is a type of thinking or a mindset that comes with the ability to manage money, invest money, lose money. What they say, scared money don't make money, right? That creates a millionaire or a billionaire that's present and a thousandaire, right? It's the mindset. So for me, it's about becoming that thing or that person and not necessarily performing as that person. And we do that. We can definitely, I can carry out the steps if I wanted to of what it takes to become a millionaire, right? Like execute this business plan and do these 5 steps. But I know that there is a mindset as well that comes with how you look at money, and that is present in individuals before they reach this certain status. And when I say there's a difference between performing and becoming, so if I am a confident woman, I don't have to act like a confident woman, right? If I am nice, gentle, and caring, I don't have to act like those things. I am just because I am. So specifically when it comes to thinking, right? We have to consistently check our thoughts that we are saying to ourselves about ourselves, because these thoughts form our mindset, and then that turns into our words turn into action, and it just becomes this cycle. So I'm pushing really hard back on thinking, and when I say this is hard for me, because every time a thought enters, like you have to push back on it, and sometimes it's so ingrained in the way we do things, it almost catches us off guard. I am blessed to have friends who pay attention to my words, and they check me, and on so many levels, they're asking me, they don't say it directly, but they're asking me, does this really, what you're saying, which is a reflection of what I'm thinking, does that align with your goals? And let's be clear, me solely like just shifting my thought process and my words isn't the end all be all. That is the beginning. And then the other things will begin to manifest. And then I'll have action steps. So I wanna be clear. Like your thoughts is just the beginning, but I think the heavy lifting of the process. And so I am blessed to have friends that oftentimes can pick up and hear the repetitive nature of things that I'm saying, that they can see a common thread in how I look at life. And so when my friends check me and ask me questions like, does this align with who you are called to be? Is this a part of your goals and your values? And I say this, and this is why this one was important to me, because I have the habit, y'all, oh my goodness, and this is when I say I am working through this as we speak, and even this weekend, I have the habit of catastrophizing something in my head before it actually manifests. Like, I will create an entire negative scenario about how something is going to go wrong, right? And let's be clear. This honestly has served me well. I worked in project management. I worked as a producer. I worked in a lot of places where you have to make multiple decisions quickly. And you have to be prepared for the worst case scenario because there's no just stopping. The show has to go on. When you're a producer, I was a producer for a local CBS affiliate. It wasn't no just pause. No, we can't have dead air. Or no, you can't leave your anchor out there just hanging. Like, they have to say something. You can't have 30 seconds of space because, y'all, something happened that has never happened in the history of the station before, right? And it happened on my watch, and it had nothing to do with me. And I think I may have shared this story before, but somebody did not load the brakes. So, like, the commercials that often come on between newscast, those are loaded by a different person, has nothing to do with me, and they were not loaded. And so the commercials can be anywhere between, I think, like 3 minutes or 2 minutes, and that builds into the time of maybe a 15-minute show where it really comes off as 30 minutes. And so what it was, so I essentially had maybe 8 minutes to fill. And it's just like during the show. And I wish you guys would know like what it was like. It may take 8 hours to do a show, right? To write, to pull the stories, to find the videos, to prepare your anchors, to prepare your report. Like, and I'm in the middle of the show and it's like I have 8 minutes to fill. And I'm just like, wait a whole mother minute, right? But let's be clear, because I was prepared, because I have that because I catastrophize, like, what could go wrong? You have stories like waiting in this kind of like waiting area on the software. You have these stories waiting because you're prepared. And so that gives you a sense of security. But I know that mindset has, it's not siloed, right? It permeates other areas of my life. That same mindset has helped me when I'm putting on projects. When I have over 300 people present, the majority of them children, like you gotta be prepared for the worst. What if something happened? Like, all these things, right? So it has served me well in certain areas, but I also know it also has created this mindset when I just sincerely want to enjoy myself, when I want to enjoy a person, when I want to enjoy a situation. It doesn't allow me to really stay in the moment. I also know that this is a trauma response. What I tell myself is, and it's not true though, but it is a trauma response. I know some things that it is directly connected to in my life from when I was a child. But what I tell myself, which I don't believe is true, is that it is me protecting my heart and my mind, preparing for the worst. So if that worst happens, I am prepared for it. Like, I've already thought about it. I've already prepared my emotions for it. I am ready for the worst. But I know, y'all, I know this thinking will not lead me to my desires. It will not lead me to freedom. It will not lead me to living my best life. That freedom I talked about early on about allowing it to really take hold and move me into a space where I am full of joy and full of peace and getting everything I need to get out of this life. Thinking that way, it won't lead me there. Especially knowing that my thoughts become my mindset and my mindset becomes my action. So what does this look like manifesting? Again, it looks like me preparing unnecessarily for the worst. I think my homegirl Rika, the Single Girls Life Coach, I think she said it best. She said it in our group chat. And I was just like, wow. Y'all know that emoji with the head blown? That was my face. In this group chat today, she said, many times when we think about faith, we only think about it in the positive, but you can have faith in the negative. And y'all, I was like, wow, That's me. Like, you have faith that the negative things are going to happen. That is me catastrophizing stuff. Like, I'm putting energy, I'm putting thought, I'm prepping for this bad thing to happen. That is me. Like, those are actionable steps. My mind is there, my heart is there. Like, it blew my it blew my mind, because that's what it was. It was me having faith in the negative stuff. So I am, like I said, I am moving towards this. I'm gonna have a positive mindset this weekend. I'm gonna enjoy some time with my friends, and we gonna do that. We gonna do that thing, right? And I'm gonna move past this. So you gotta watch what you have faith in. You gotta watch what you have faith in. I think the things that lead us to these beliefs, whether you're having faith in the positive or faith in the negative, is we have to ask ourselves, what are we saying and thinking and regurgitating? Like, what are we taking in? What are we listening to? What are we watching? Who are we around? Right? What I said earlier about we are the sum of the people that we engage with. What are they saying? How is that echoing in our mind? All this plays into what we have faith in. I had to stop watching, and then I'm almost done, y'all. I had to stop watching some shows. I had to stop listening to some podcasts, stop following some people on Instagram, because their conversation was solely about dysfunctional relationships. And this doesn't mean that their conversation was bad, but if all I hear is about folks getting through dysfunction, it makes me think dysfunction is inevitable, right? And it's like a pit in my stomach when I think about that's what it created in me when I thought about the possibility of partnering with someone for the rest of my life. Like, it's gonna be dysfunctional. And I had to stop watching that stuff, because I was preparing my mind, I was preparing my heart for this dysfunction. And that's not true. I'm not saying we're perfect, but it's just certain things I don't believe we all have to experience. I don't have to have that anxiety around that. It literally developed this sinking feeling. It made me not want to desire a relationship. But then when I began to see healthy, whole relationships and hear people going to therapy and even becoming more self-aware about my flaws and how I respond to certain triggers, I was like, oh, there is help. There is a God. We don't have to be dysfunctional. And so, again, just going back to being aware of what you're thinking, what you're saying to yourself, and asking yourself, what do you really have faith in, right? Who is really telling you what you can and can't do in situations? What does that faith look like? What are the actionable steps? So those are the 3 things that I'm learning about growth in this season. I hope this helps you. I hope this moves you into a different place. Leave some comments. Let me know. And before you go, wait, before you go, make sure you subscribe to the Good Girl Podcast. I'm telling y'all, I'm here for the long haul, and I want you to know what I am giving to you every week. I am giving you this freedom that you did not know you needed. Thanks so much for listening to the Good Girl Podcast.